I'm Zach. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Zauben, and I'm calling here from Chicago. I know a lot of us are calling from cities, and really the question we're begging is, what are our cities doing to our environments? It might come to a surprise. I know here as climate investors and climate companies, we're already thinking through, well, they're doing some pretty drastic problems to our cities. They're consuming 40% of the world's energy, and they're producing 40% of all greenhouse gas emissions. We're continuing to build vertically, so our green spaces are becoming less and less. And we have a really large challenge, right? We have to decarbonize not just our buildings, but our cities and globe to reach these net zero targets. And so that's really where we need to find moonshots. We need to find innovation within the built environment to really retrofit our buildings that become living, breathing spaces. And ultimately, that's where living walls and green roofs come in, or what we call it as nature-based climate technologies. So these technologies that we've developed, they not only absorb CO2, but they also provide other range of benefits. So air quality on a city scale, we improve it as much as 30%. Reduce energy building savings as much as 25 to 75%, depending on AC, cooling, and temperature, time of year, different climate zones. Most obvious is enhanced biodiversity, right? How do we build back responsibly with our environments? We talked a lot about retrofitting, right? So we have all these aging asset properties, particularly in prop tech, now being synonymous with climate tech. This is an example. This is with Google. We'll talk a little bit how we came to Google Climate Accelerator shortly. But ultimately, what's our North Star? We talked about decarbonization, building energy saving benefits. What could be the large milestone that we're looking to do? So there's a lot of green roof policy, a lot of green building policy, LEED, WAL certifications. Certainly now cities, 60 plus cities just in the last 4 years, put these regulations. So this is a very emerging market. Now, interesting enough, 20%, I know Manuella, you're in Paris, I believe. French Parliament has a very extensive green roof policy of 20 to 30% of green rooftops having to be covered by green roofs. So our mission here, how we can make a true dent into climate change, is we have the potential to offset 5.4% of global CO2 emissions just as with one product alone. All right. We're already making waves in the space. We're working with some of the largest developers, JLL, CBRE, Hines, RXR, you kind of name it. Google, I mentioned a few times. We work industrious. We're working inside and out of buildings. When we think of just the total addressable market, it's 18 billion. What's really cool, look at this number, 4 billion plant service market. That's usually for a plantscaping company, a landscaping company. And when we think about these regulations that are coming into play, by 2030, it'll be the green construction industry will be 303 billion. So living walls, green roofs, 18 billion, 4 billion on a really, well, it's going to be a SaaS, but we're going to see this become more and more of a mainstream product because it's just part of our urban environments. Going to Google Climate Tech, so we started 15 months ago. All right, we are a startup in every sense of the word. We've designed the world's smartest living wall and green roof systems. Our hydroponic technology, which we're seeing as all recyclable, as Matt has shared, is using, believe it or not, cutting edge machine learning. Okay, so we're using algorithms to optimize irrigation in real time, such as humidity, temperature, moisture. But then you also think about from the data play, right? Indoor air quality sensors. We know all the Hines, JP Morgan, you kind of name it, they're already looking through what is happening in their buildings, but now we are actually doing this on the exterior too. So we have a really large data set inside and out of better understanding cities. And then most importantly, it eliminates plant replacement. So we have 99% plant survivability month over month. We have 100% plant warranties to back that up. This is what we're doing from a building scale. We're showing the data of what this is doing. It's not just retrofitting, but where's the data coming to play, understanding how it's actually offsetting those buildings. Really quickly, 15 months ago, we have 489,000 in book sales. We have 382,000 in revenue in. We have 136,000 ARR. So again, we actually are a software play, and 82% SaaS margins on that, and more than 30 million in our pipeline. We've done a pre-seed. We've raised just under $1 million on a pre-seed on a $5 million post-safe. We are doing our seed round, 10.5 million. We have $1.5 million commitment. We are 2 to 3 weeks, I believe, of closing out
Time
with
is
our strategic
up.
partner. Oh, sorry, I was reading a chat there. This is why we're here. We want to find who are the pioneers, who are the people that want to roll up their sleeves with us to fight climate change and to make a difference on our built environment. So we're really excited to meet. I'm excited to have you ask questions and for us to really revolutionize our cities together.
So first question, while I bring in the other investors, why green living walls versus focusing on green roofs?
Because the technology uses both. So it's the same technology, right? It's a patent technology of modular panels. What's pretty fascinating is right now, if you're an architect, you're an engineer, you're a developer, you're a property owner, property builder, developer, you're using one of the other systems. Those systems are very different. Usually a lot of them are messy. They're dirt-based. They break down over time. They decay over time. And so what we did is we wanted to, we actually first found the solution for living walls. And then hey, this is no different than what we're seeing in the green roof industry. This can be utilized as part of that. I guess one other thing is, in that thinking too, is we're doing software data visualization. So same technology can be applied vertically or horizontally, same technology applied. So we think it addresses a very large gap in what they're seeing of just a few providers that work regionally, but we can do this, and we're doing this on a national scale, and I kind of go to that as well, just on our business model.
Yeah, if you can double click on the business model, I'll be interested, because at some point you mentioned that you are a software platform with 82% margins, and you also build the walls and, like, I guess also the hardware. So I'll be curious if you are integrating the hardware cost into that calculation as well, and what exactly the business model is.
Yeah, they're totally separate. So they pay for upfront for the hardware, and then the SaaS. I guess to kind of give you a better idea, so unlike a lot of the competitors in this space, we've led with technology, machine learning, but just to give you an idea, what happens today is there's plant companies, they only operate regionally. So basically have a really high overhead, right? Because they're going on site, let's say it's monthly, to see how the green roof is performing or how living wall is performing. And when you do that, you have plant failure, you have 20 to 30% plant replacement each month. That becomes really costly for the client. So what we did is, let's be proactive. Let's actually optimize the technology just based on the environmental, real-time environmental measurements to trigger for interior living walls, plant lighting. So circadian rhythm is really important. And then just even on a square footage basis, optimizing that irrigation. Summertime, versus winter, it's much more drier, actually hotter. So different parts of the built environment will require more irrigation, where a lot of the systems today, they'll flood or under water the system essentially. So you have a lot of plant replacement. And then what we do, we leverage that technology with, let's just say it's JLL or CBRE, you take your pick. They already have national partners, right? They're doing the inside of their buildings. What we'll do is we'll train and certify their partners on our technology. So we ultimately oversee their partners. And then it allows us to have a quality control, right, and a plant care checklist if they are replacing plants. So we're incentivized by not replacing plants. But just to give you an idea, on the software piece, I'll kind of go back and give you a visual here. So we're looking at this rendering here at Google. It's $1.50 per square foot for the software. What a typical project would be, because this is going to be LEED well certified, right? So green roofs, living walls are all part of that built environment. It's already being spec'd in. What another competitor would do is they would charge them $4.50 or $7 per square foot per month, right? So having technology to optimize it, we're already baked in what would be a large landscaping contract. And then they get this killer dashboard to understand how it's actually, well, actually not even before they do the building, they have a data software visualization that can understand those tangible benefits. We know buyback periods are really, really important, particularly with developers.
So I have a question about market size. I'm absolutely a customer for you guys. Like, I have commercial buildings here in San Francisco, and I love it. And I love green roofs, love green walls. My wife, if she had seen this, would already be like pushing purchase. So the problem is there's not as many, like the service addressable market is big enough, right? However, it's a really fragmented market. Not everybody's paying $4,000 for a wall. They're buying, a $60 plant, and they're having somebody come by once a week and water it. So what's the actual, I'd rather see a ground up model on how you're going to acquire customers rather than, to be fair, I hate the service addressable market slide that everybody has because I'm like, climate, it's the global GDP. That's the service addressable market. So tell me about what you think the actual size of the people that are going to be able to afford you and want to pay $300, $400 a month for your service.
Well, we're not consumer focused. We're going to.
I know.
So it's
I get it.
developers. The sweet thing is San Francisco was one of the first cities that started doing these green roof mandates. So if you're a developer, you're developing a space that's 25,000 square feet, 20 to 30% of that roof is green roof. Now, another part of that might be well. We're gonna be the first well certified product, which all that means is there's probably biophilia is a large part of achieving that certification. Living walls significantly boosts what that square footage would be with biophilia. So it becomes cheaper than office plants. But we do think office plants is interesting. I won't go into that now. I want to take away from it. But I think also what we're seeing too is a large demand from the tenants. Building owners are beginning to understand green office premiums. So when they're looking to do renovations or a large retrofit, understanding how can we one, address decarbonization, and two, how can we basically boost their property by 7 to 15%,
Right.
positioning it just by greenery. But most of it's being done. It's a new built development, and the city has to get approved by LEED certifications for it to go up.
Gotcha. Fair.
That's ultimately just drawing the demand. And that's depending on green roof mandates, can be anywhere from $3.50 per square foot versus what a traditional roofing company would be. So there's some really interesting ROIs tied to that. Energy savings, water storm management versus traditional roofs. And then you're not having to do it for 50 years versus a traditional roof might be 15, 20 years. So it's a lot of driven by economics.
Probably a big yes too. So I get it.
At some point, you mentioned the offsetting of 5% of the CO2 emissions of a building. Do you refer to like the energy use of the building, or did you consider the construction of it, or because I'd assume that no, but just double checking what you're referring to here, and if by any point you're considering that calculation as one of the benefits that you'd be selling as well to the players that are acquiring your solution. Like, are you planning on showing the CO2 offsetting that their plants are providing or something like this?
So that's the cool part, right? When we think of, I know we're seeing a lot of like hard tech, deep tech companies, but one of the most fundamental things with hydroponic technology is what are we doing, right? Like there's a roof, it's absorbing a lot of heat on mitigation is becoming a really large part of our cities. Same with water storm management. We're seeing more and more like cities in the UK of having 13% more rainfall per year. So what a green roof does, or what living walls would do an exterior, acts as a carbon sink, right? It's absorbing the CO2. And I know we talk about like deep tech, it's photosynthesis. So those plants are continuing to grow out. They're continuing to sequester carbon year after year, and they're also creating oxygen. We're seeing this with Milan, we're seeing this with Singapore, again, UK. It's all really with I'd say, relatively in its infancy, but the technology hasn't been built to scale across nationally or internationally. And so I think that for us becomes a really exciting point. Kind of going back to Matthew's question of what the TAM is. There's no companies even scaling nationally. And you can't do that without having the technology. Otherwise, you have to have a crazy overhead just to maintenance these products. But yes, the calculations will be part of the ESG dashboard. We're still in demo, and we're still kind of leaning towards really our partners, how they are using that data. Some of them are seeing it as really being almost like tenant driven as part of the space, as part of their green premiums. Others are probably, let's hold them more accountable to their ESGs. So we're kind of doing almost like a consulting approach, understanding that, and then working with third parties to verify our data.
What's your sales model and go-to-market? How do you plan to scale this up? I know you talked a bit about partners, but it does seem like a bit of a one-off kind of sales pitch for every building, for every campus, for every Google, Plex, etc.
Oh, that's a good point. So what we did is we actually started with a turnkey product. So COVID, talk about a great time to develop a workplace product. When those logos of Nike or Google or JP Morgan, you kind of name it industrious, is we created a turnkey product that they could sell into the office. So we really think for our market is, I'll use the Willis Tower as an example here. So we work with EQ Office, right? They have a green roof. They have 2 Model Zs, one in the mini space, one is part of their employee space. Now their tenants can go into this for just this product, the Model Z, and have as part of the build out. So we think of each property as having multiple different product ecosystems as part of it. And then for us, what's really, I know we're like software. What is the software? It's just all hardware I'm seeing. Once we're part of the built environment, we have in our LTV model 5 years conservatively, but it's probably closer to the lifetime of that built space. So let's say 10, 20 years is where we think that ultimately that client's going to be, because they're held to this technology, this software. It's already part of the space. And we're finding that with just renewals. Again, 15 months ago, so we have 136,000. We're not seeing any churn. And a lot of it too is because that's part of the I would say the difficulty of selling it is they know that they have to have this contract to renew it. So it becomes part of the building's operations or the client's office operations.
Do you see net growth then from individual clients, then rolling it out in new places or new walls, etc.? So you, instead of having churn, possibly have negative churn?
I gotta be honest, I've never been asked that. I don't think I fully understand it either.
Like if Google, if you get this set up with Google's got it working on 2 buildings. Google owns a lot more than 2 buildings. As they start to like it, maybe they roll it out to more and more buildings, or to larger kind of square footage, or however you measure that, of the said buildings.
Yeah, I still don't think I understand it. That's a great question. Not to you, I haven't heard that. But I guess maybe, hopefully this answers it, is when we look at those large property owners, let's use Google, we find it usually they're maybe it's in a new space or they're renovating, and then they're beginning to roll it out across portfolio. That's definitely where we're at now, kind of our life cycle. So I wouldn't see that as, yeah, I think we're kind of understanding that. But what we do know, at least today, is on average clients are ordering 2 to 3 units, and it's becoming part of a portfolio discussion. Maybe this would answer it, I guess, is on the we have everyone purchase up front. So it's all purchased up front. Even the subscription, we have it purchased annually. So right off the bat, we're making money. As larger, we have some instances where we have 3 Model Zs and NDA for a very large architect and developer in San Jose. That would also just be part of like a larger rollout. But we'd have discussions. We'd have it all paid up front, maybe similar to what you would see furniture, if it is part of that larger renovation or construction, the construction budget. Did that answer it, Matt? I got to get back with a better answer to that, but
I think it's more that you're too early to have a good answer for that in terms of how you do grow and scale. Kind of like using Slack with one team versus scaling it out across the entire organization.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it's driven usually with the ESG team or the VP of tech, because a lot of them, right? A lot of these LPs, real estate LPs, are being held to kind of the fire. Everyone has their ESG net zero initiatives. It was set in 2020. Now they're getting questions from investors. How are we actually going to achieve these? So they're looking for decarbonization technologies. Green roofs is already something they're doing in the buildings. They can understand that data and implement and roll it out. That becomes very, very valuable.